So Reason Magazine did a hit piece. This woman sometimes is on the Hill. So she put out this hit piece on RFK Jr. And apparently she's been working on this a long time. It is such a garbage takedown. It's like 9 minutes long, but I sped it up a little so it won't be that long. But I got to play it. This is hilarious. This is hilarious. Okay, this is supposed to be, so this is Reason Magazine. Now that Robbie guy from the Hill, he also works at Reason. I like Robbie. He seems reasonable.
Yeah, doesn't he?
I don't think he would ever do a garbage thing like this. So let's watch.
The nonprofit Children's Health Defense, which warns of the possible dangers posed by vaccines, used to receive a modest 119,000 monthly visits to its website. When COVID happened, public skepticism of the medical establishment exploded, and the site's web traffic went wild, peaking at 5 million monthly visits.
And that's supposed to be bad. That's supposed to be bad. That the VAERS adverse event system recording for vaccine injuries went off the chart during COVID. And that's bad that people got interested in their health. That's bad that people got interested in vaccine safety. That's bad, according to her. Do you see the look on her face? She can't believe people would want to get informed. Oh, how dare they get informed on their own? Ready? Here we go.
So who's behind this group that warns of the dangers of electromagnetic radiation and the global cabal attempting to ban meat? The group's chairman, chief legal counsel, and highest compensated officer.
So do you see how they tried to make it seem like a crazy organization? Those are real concerns. That they're trying to phase out meat production because of climate change, and they say you're going to eat bugs, you're going to be happy. We're not making this up. They say this on camera at the WEF. We're not making this up. They're trying to shut down the Dutch farms right now. They're trying to shut down Dutch farms right now. They're doing it. Not trying. They're doing it. So this isn't some kind of crazy idea, but it is to her because she's a propagandist. Okay, here we go. Now she doesn't like this guy at all. Here we go.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has moved out of the fringe after launching a long-shot bid to become president of the United States. RFK Jr. is not worthy of the rehabilitation tour he's been getting from pundits, podcasters, and tech luminaries. He's built...
She's not going to tell you. She's going to try... To make a statement like that, you think she'd really have some stuff to back it up. I was like, oh boy, I bet she's really going to take him down.
Yeah.
She's got nothing. Watch. She has nothing. Watch this.
Career as a professional contrarian. He pushes tabloid quality reporting, and he
As a professional, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was one of the leading climate lawyers in the world. Won hundreds of cases. Got the Hudson cleaned up, got PPPs. He got rivers, and the guy is a hero to the environmental movement. He was a hero, right? And what was he a hero doing? He was a hero cleaning up the poison that corporations, when they would poison the water and poison the land. He wasn't putting extraneous regulations on them. He was getting them to stop polluting the water. Okay, here we go.
Extrapolates from little grains of truth.
So this, by the way, #1 best-selling book for weeks and weeks and weeks. And if anything in that book about Anthony Fauci, that's a huge book, and he rips the shit out of Anthony Fauci. If there's anything in that book that's not true, somebody would have sued him. And nobody did. You know why? Because nobody wants to be questioned by a lawyer about anything that's in that book. In open court. Anthony Fauci doesn't want to be questioned about anything that's in that book. No lawyer, nobody from the big pharma, nobody from the FDA, CDC, nobody wants to answer questions about what's in that book. That's why. But she points to this book like somehow there's something wrong with this book. Well, if there was something wrong with this book, they would have sued his ass. And they didn't.
He frequently implies that the establishment is corrupt at best, evil at worst, and he winks at the existence of puppet masters pulling the strings of major institutions.
Okay, I want to play that for you again.
Yes.
Because that is one of the most amazing things I've ever heard a news person say. She's not a news person. She's a propagandist who does the bidding of corporations, and you just saw it. So she's saying it's bad that RFK Jr. says the government is corrupt and wants to reform it. She's saying that's bad, crazy talk. What? I'm not kidding. You think that's what she just said? Okay.
He frequently implies that the establishment is corrupt at best.
He frequently implies. He doesn't imply it. He says it, that the establishment is corrupt at best. Who is this video supposed to appeal to? People who love the establishment? Everybody knows the establishment's corrupt at best. Everybody knows that. That's why we're the richest country in the world, and 80% of workers live paycheck to paycheck, and half the country can't afford a $500 emergency because our government, our establishment is corrupt at best. At best, it's corrupt. At worst, it's, well, what does he say?
Evil at worst.
And evil at worst. It's evil. It is evil. It's evil when you give $5 trillion to the richest people in America during COVID and you don't give anything to the workers. That's called evil. When you won't give people health care in the middle of a deadly pandemic, but you make them take an experimental medical treatment or they can't go to work or travel, that's evil.
Winks at the existence of puppet masters pulling the strings of major institutions.
He winks at puppet masters pulling. There aren't any puppet masters in America. Koch brothers, Bill Gates, Jeffrey Bezos. There's no puppet masters in America. What? Wall Street, the military-industrial complex, Big Pharma. There's no what? There are no puppet masters. This is a real person. People, some people somewhere must take her seriously because she's able to do this video. She didn't produce it herself, I'm sure. This is Reason magazine. It's called Reason. What a joke. This is what happens when you're corrupted by money. So this woman doing this, this woman doing this is corrupted by money. Her organization, Reason Magazine, corrupted by money. And that's why they have to do this to RFK Jr. And she hasn't said a substantial thing yet. Everything she says contradicts her own point. Here we go.
Children's Health Defense gives opponents of vaccine mandates and government overreach a bad name by lumping us together with anti-vaxxers.
So she was against the mandates because libertarians were against mandates. Good for them. Tip of the hat. And she says that RFK Jr. gives her and those anti-mandate libertarians a bad name because he lumps them in together. He's not doing that. The establishment is doing that. Anybody who opposed mandates was called an anti-vaxxer. So that establishment that you're defending are the ones who smeared you over the mandate thing. The establishment that he says is corrupt at best and evil at worst, you know, the one you're defending, they're the ones who smeared you as an anti-vaxxer. They're the ones, not RFK Jr. This woman is such a moron. It is unbelievable. If there was a fair world, this would ruin her career if she has one. Apparently she does.
That's why most of the polio today, 70% of the polio today is vaccine polio that came from the vaccines.
Now, we covered this on this show. There was an outbreak of polio, remember, up in New York and state, and they were like, oh, we're all worried about it. Turns out it comes from the oral polio vaccine. It wasn't a polio strain that it existed in nature. And they don't give the oral polio vaccine anymore in America because of this, because it could give people polio, but we still send it overseas to poor countries. But somehow it ended up in the sewer systems, and that's how they found out there was polio. And that's what he's talking about. And we covered it here at this show. It's outrageous to me. It should be outrageous to you. But listen to what she says about it.
The way 80% of the polio cases on Earth today, according to the WHO, are vaccine strain polio. That means people got it from vaccinated people.
In 2022, Children's Health Defense made the same point in a piece headlined Polio, Why Vaccines Are to Blame for Rising Number of Cases. It claimed that cases have been on the rise globally since 2016, and the resurgence is related to the use of vaccines. Actually, global polio cases fell by 99% between 1988 and 2022, and were extremely close to eradication.
So she uses a totally different time frame than RFK Jr. used. He said since 2016. She says since 1988. Why don't you use the same time frame as RFK Jr.? The reason why is because she's a liar and she has to play fast and loose with the facts so she can smear RFK Jr. Just like the New York Times and MSNBC and Crystal Ball. They have to play fast and loose with the facts. And that's what she's doing right here. Everybody just saw what you did. If you don't think people saw it, everybody did. You saw it, right, Steph?
Yes.
You saw it, right, Misha? You saw it immediately, right? She used different data.
It claimed that cases have been on the rise globally since 2016.
Since 2016. Well, have they been? I don't know. I'm going to look to her at Reason because she spent weeks and weeks putting this together. So let's see what she came up with. So 2016, he says that polio cases have been on the rise. What does she say?
The resurgence is related to the use of vaccines. Actually, global polio cases fell by 99% between 1988 and 2022.
That's not what he was talking about, and you know it. So now can you take it? So isn't it something when they have to? So RFK Jr. is such a liar and such a kooky, crazy conspiracy theorist that you have to play fast and loose with the facts to debunk him, and you don't do it? Did you have to lie and misrepresent what he's saying? I wonder who's paying her. We know who's paying them.
And we're extremely close to eradication, thanks to vaccines. What Kennedy said is technically true, but misleading. He is referring...
Oh, wait a minute. So what he said is technically true, otherwise known as true. Why would you bring this up? Why would you use this point as... And this is like the third thing she brought up to try to discredit him. And the first two things were a joke. And this third thing, he's correct about. It's technically true. You know, otherwise known as true. Do we really need to watch more from this dingbat? What an airhead dingbat this woman is. I'm sorry if I'm assuming her gender.
Polio spread through untreated sewage by a form of the vaccine.
See, there it is. That's what we reported. The detection of the virus in sewage suggests it's circulating in the city. That's what we reported on this. And where did it come from? It came from the oral vax.
That uses live virus. Not only has that version of the vaccine been retired, but it can only...
Not only has that version of the vaccine been retired, you mean the one that was doing that? So they're not doing it anymore. Hey, they after it gave everybody polio, they stopped doing that. They retired it. It's on Social Security now, that oral vaccine. Like, why would you bring this up? That's how dumb this woman is. Boy, I bet you there's a lot of other...
cause an outbreak in unvaccinated communities, such as some Hasidic neighborhoods of New York City and outlying areas. For the last 18 years, Kennedy has been a leading figure in the anti-vax movement.
My principle.
So again, that's all they can do is just keep ad hominem names, and he's anti-vax. He's been prominent. Everybody knows that he's been out there questioning the safety of these and saying that they're not being put through the safety tests that they should be put through. That's what he's saying.
Is that vaccines, in the childhood vaccines, are immune from pre-licensing safety testing. Pharmaceutical drugs are now the third biggest killer in America after heart attacks and cancer. So no, I do not intend to make it easier to get drugs to market.
This is a rhetorical ploy to make his vaccine fear-mongering sound reasonable. The Food and Drug Administration is, if anything, overly cautious with vaccine testing.
She's saying this, like, I couldn't write something funnier than this. I couldn't. Can you imagine, Misha, if you did a video like this and you straight-faced it? If anything, the FDA is overcautious. They waited 3 months to give us the experimental mRNA vaccine. Overcautious. It was called warp speed. It was called warp speed. mRNA vaccine technology never been used successfully before. And now it turns out people have lots of questions about it. And we were lied to about it repeatedly, over and over. Why would they have to lie about something if it's so fantastic? I'm just asking that question. I wonder why they did, because I know the vaccine was fantastic and it's safe and effective. Why would they lie about it? I don't know. It's fantastic. Here we go.
Bringing a vaccine to market generally takes 10 to 15 years and costs several $1 billion.
When I was a kid, I got 3 vaccines. My children got 72 doses of 16 vaccines.
RFK is playing fast and loose with the numbers.
Now, I've heard that number over and over and over again already, and no one's debunked it. She's got a different number. I don't know where she gets it from. She didn't put a link in, but I wonder where she gets this. Listen to what she says. So he's saying it's 72 shots. That's what RFK Jr. says now. If you're born today, you're going to have to get 72 shots of vaccines. I've heard 68. I've heard 72. Listen to what she says.
About 30 doses are on the childhood immunization schedule, with fewer required to attend most states' public schools.
She says it's only 30. So is that 30 vaccinations that require multiple shots? She's not clear. Because that's why I think she's playing fast and loose with the facts. But we'll see.
The reason he didn't get vaccines that prevent measles and mumps when he was a kid is that they didn't yet exist, which is a shame because they've mostly eradicated those serious diseases in the US.
Beginning in 1989, we experienced a chronic disease epidemic in this country. It is unlike anything in human history. I mean, neurological disease that I never saw when I was a kid. ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, tics, Tourette syndrome, ASD, autism, narcolepsy, all of these suddenly appeared. Autism rates went from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in every 34. Peanut allergies suddenly appeared. Food allergies, eczema suddenly appeared. Anaphylaxis and asthma, which had been around, but it exploded.
He's correct that food allergy, asthma, and childhood obesity rates are increasing, but there's no evidence it's caused by vaccines.
There's also no evidence of where it's coming from, and there's no evidence that it isn't. They're already so they understand that he's saying this needs to be looked into, and we need to find the cause of this, and we need to look into everywhere, including vaccines. That's what he's saying. Why are people so resistant to studying vaccine safety? What do you think you're going to find out if you study vaccine safety? That's all he's asking for. That's it. He wanted to have a Senate commission, a congressional commission, have a vaccine safety commission. Then we could find out if all about how safe these vaccines are. But you know what? Bill Gates killed that, made sure that Donald Trump didn't have that, which was recommended by RFK Jr. And why is that? I mean, all that commission's going to find out is that vaccines are safe and effective. Why would you be afraid of sunlight? The only people who are afraid of commissions or questions are liars. The truth doesn't mind being questioned. It's the lie that can't stand scrutiny. And so she is running interference for the liars. And she doesn't want you asking questions, or anybody. And if anybody does, she's going to call you a conspiracy theorist, an anti-vaxxer, a kook, and that you don't deserve to be on podcasts. Here we go.
RFK is once again flubbing the particulars in order to pin blame on a single culprit. Kennedy frequently mistakes correlation for causation, gets the numbers totally wrong, and portrays complex trends as simpler than they really are, with easily identifiable villains. Last year, he produced the documentary Infertility, A Diabolical Agenda. It was directed by Andrew Wakefield, the British doctor who wrote a 1998 article in The Lancet presenting evidence that vaccines cause autism.
Presenting evidence? Wow, I didn't know there was evidence. I didn't know there was evidence. And it was in The Lancet. I wonder why The Lancet printed it.
As for the film that Kennedy and Wakefield collaborated on, it recycles long debunked myths from the 90s that tetanus vaccines administered in Kenya were deliberately laced with a hormone blocker that caused infertility.
Now, are you going to take her word for any of this now? I'm not. I know how they lied around the AIDS and the AIDS vaccine. I know how they lied about COVID. I know how they lied about they lied about everything with COVID, everything. They lied about everything. They lied about the origin of the virus. They lied about if they funded it. They lied about transmission, contraction. They lied about masks. They lied about herd immunity. They lied about natural immunity. There isn't anything they didn't lie about. And she's saying that RFK Jr. is the liar. No, she is the propagandist. No, they did lie about masks. I don't have to put a disclaimer on that, but thank you.
This, they say, is part of the World Health Organization's depopulation plot. But the Catholic bishops who are the source for that claim never presented conclusive evidence. Libertarians who understand the incompetence of government entities should be more skeptical that the World Health Organization would be so effective at carrying out its nefarious scheme. He used his famous last name to add the veneer of respectability to the anti-vax cause.
Oh.
In fact,
Yeah, why didn't he go get another last name? Instead, he's out there lending it. He's lending it all over the place. He didn't buy that name. That name was given to him.
he's been focused on this single issue for decades now. In 2005,
Yeah, why doesn't he just stop? You know, the guy who had all those victories suing to get our waterways cleaned up, the guy who had hundreds of victories doing that, why doesn't he just quit when it comes to this? You know, big pharma corruption. Why doesn't he just quit? Why doesn't he just let it go? We've got an FDA that's completely corporate captured to the tune of 70% of their budget when they review new drugs are paid for by the FDA. I mean, by the big pharma. FDA's not, everybody thinks the FDA is funded by tax dollars. It is some, but half of its overall budget, almost half, comes directly from big pharma. And then when they're reviewing new drugs, 70% of that comes from big pharma. And then, of course, everybody at the FDA goes to work at big pharma. But she doesn't have a problem with any of that. She doesn't want the FDA even doing anything.
he first became obsessed with the preservatives in vaccines, writing an article for Salon on the danger of vaccine additives that needed 5 corrections appended to it and was later retracted, alleging a link between autism and the preservative ethyl mercury.
But what do you think happens when you get into office? Like, if you're talking about your
Now, the mercury thing, I thought he was proven correct on. I thought didn't they take a certain type of mercury out of vaccines because of RFK Jr.? Or not, maybe not because of him, but they did. If she's saying it, it's wrong.
Uh-huh.
And now look how she jumps to this topic. This is the craziest thing.
who's assassinated, and you believe the intelligence agencies were part of that. What happens to you?
Well, I got to be careful. You know, I'm aware of that, and I'm not, you know, I'm aware of that danger.
He's actually not a persecuted truth teller, although recent attempts to go after Rogan for
He's not a persecuted truth teller. Well, he's certainly persecuted. You say he's not a truth teller, but you're the biggest liar I've seen this week. He's not a persecuted truth teller? YouTube just pulled it. They sense he's been ubiquitously censored and slandered. What are you talking about? Like, do you think that helps your case?
him on, or to cut him out of public debate, feed that myth. The real issue is that RFK Jr.'s bold claims don't hold up to scrutiny, even when examined by people who don't have a dog in the fight.
So, I don't know, it seems like an hour and a half into this video, and she's now finally gonna show me where his claims are. Finally, now? Here we go.
So what would RFK Jr. be like as president? Part of his appeal to libertarians.
Oh no, she didn't. I thought she was gonna tell us. She didn't.
Didn't happen.
She just said that an uninterested third-party people who don't have a dog in the fight have also, like, who are those people? She never tells us. I thought she was going to tell us. And she was going to show how they did it. She didn't. She didn't show us anything. Because those people aren't disinterested without a dog in the fight. They're all interested, and they're all funded by establishment money somewhere, which comes from Big Pharma. That's why she didn't show you it. And she sits there with that stupid look on her face. Jesus Christ.
At least, is that he's staunchly anti-war and a huge critic of COVID lockdowns and mandates. But he's fundamentally a big government liberal. He supports Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal. He favors heavy-handed government intrusion in the realm of environmental policy. He's anti-nuclear energy. He wants pharmaceutical companies to burn in hell. And he seems to believe in an almost Alex Jones...
Oh, there it is. He's just like Alex Jones, you guys. If there's ever a better sign that someone is a propagandist twisting stuff to discredit someone, it's when they have to do that. RFK Jr., just like Alex Jones, you guys. No, you're just like Alex. Well, first of all, Alex Jones is a much better news person than this dingbat. Alex Jones actually gets the stuff right. I don't think this woman's gotten anything right.
You know, that list that she was just playing right now, Jimmy, can you rewind it? It was like everything that RFK Jr. was doing. I'm like, yes.
Yes, I'm all for it. I'm all
Holding
for it.
Pfizer accountable, yes.
Yes. And he wants the government to burn or whatever. Yeah. I'm all for it.
Dramatized concept of the deep state. He also favors massive wealth redistribution.
I don't think.
So she denies that the deep state controls things, even though she's supposed to be anti-war. So how could you be anti-war and not understand how the deep state has manipulated and set up all these wars for the last 50 years? How can you can't be that obtuse and stupid. You can't be anti-war and not know why. Really? Maybe she is. Maybe she's just that stupid and uninformed that she doesn't know why she's anti-war or how wars get started. Maybe she's uninformed about the CIA and the NSA and the FBI. Maybe she doesn't know anything. Maybe she hasn't written war. Maybe she hasn't read War is a Racket. Maybe she hasn't read Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Maybe she doesn't know anything. There's a good chance she doesn't know anything.
These huge disparities in wealth are healthy for our country or healthy for democracy.
So he says that huge wealth and inequality is bad for our country and bad for democracy. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Except her. She puts that up. It's like a gotcha. He's not for redistribution of wealth. He's a capitalist. 100% full blown.
He points out that government and big business have an unholy alliance.
The CIA is ultimately.
This could be like a campaign for RFK Jr. He's saying that government and big business has formed an unholy alliance. Yeah, they have, and people are sick of it.
Working for industry like the oil industry, the coal industry, and the military contractors. I mean, USDA is run by Cargill, Smithfield, Monsanto, Bo Pilgrim, John Tyson.
But he doesn't understand that too much regulation is the root cause.
He doesn't understand.
He doesn't understand. He doesn't understand that it's good when corporations completely control the regulatory bodies that are supposed to be regulating them, so then they get to write regulations that favor the big corporations over everybody else. That's good. That's what she doesn't understand. She gets it. But RFK doesn't get it. We need more corporate capture. We need more corporate control of our government. That's what she's saying. We need more corporate control of our government. That's what she's saying. And she calls herself a libertarian. She sounds like a schizophrenic libertarian. She doesn't know what the F it means to be a libertarian. You want more corporate control of your government. I'm going to back that up because that's so stupid I want to hear it again.
By Cargill, Smithfield, Monsanto, Bo Pilgrim, John Tyson.
But he doesn't understand that too much regulation is the root cause. He just thinks large companies are inherently bad. He says he's concerned about government spending and throws out wild figures to make his point.
We spent $16 trillion on the lockdown. We wasted, got nothing for it. $8 trillion on the Ukraine war. That's $24 trillion that they had to print to pay for nothing.
But he's actually no better than any establishment Republican or Democrat in his unwillingness to scale back elder care entitlements that are actually responsible for driving the federal government into bankruptcy.
And so now her final point is he's a bad guy because he doesn't want to take Medicare and Social Security away from senior citizens. That's why he's a bad guy, because he wants to keep giving them health care and retirement. That makes him bad to her. That's real. Medicare. Show me a libertarian over 65 years old who isn't taking Medicare. Show me, and I'll show you who isn't a millionaire. Show me.
I would say it's a red line for me to touch Social Security or Medicare.
What's surreal about libertarians and conservatives now embracing RFK Jr. is that he's publicly fantasized about jailing his political opponents and cracking down on free speech for years. At the People's Climate March in 2014, Kennedy said this.
Do I think they should be in jail? I think they should be enjoying 3 hots and a cot at The Hague.
Who's he talking about? Like, I don't know. She just throws this in there. Who does he want jailed? People who are protesting? Who's she? I think he's talking about the oligarchs.
All the other war criminals who are there. Do I think the Koch brothers should be prosecuted for reckless endangerment? Absolutely.
So that's who he's talking about. Those people. And you know why she had to do that disingenuously? Because she's funded by the Koch brothers. That's why. And she's not going to tell you that, by the way. This is our paragon of integrity trying to take down this liar, RFK Jr.
First Amendment does not protect fraudulent speech. If you say something that is fraudulent, you're not protected.
So now she's using this to show how he's not really a protector of free speech. I don't know what the argument was, why she cut the video right where she cut in at. But I think a good chance he's making the argument that if what I'm saying is fraudulent, they would prosecute me. Because the First Amendment doesn't protect that. That's what he's saying. And she's using that against him like somehow he isn't. That's my guess of what he's talking about. Now, she didn't show the beginning, so we don't know. And she's been deceptively editing this thing all the way through. So you just figured that's probably what he was saying. Now, here's how the rest of it plays out.
It seems like that way madness lies, because the government will always come up with a pretext for saying your speech is not just wrong, it's criminal, and you need to be shut down.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, I don't know, but I do believe that prosecutors and judges make decisions about what's fraud all the time.
He's not a real free speech advocate, and he's not especially thoughtful about the principles or people he endorses. After all, this is a man who once heaped praise on the socialist dictator Hugo Chavez, touting his bogus literacy programs and commitment to democracy. So what would RFK...
Hugo Chavez brought literacy to the people, right? That's bad? I guess that's bad. The people of Venezuela loved Hugo Chavez. He gave them home. He helped them. You know, he took the oil money and he gave it to the people. He helped try to lift them out of poverty. That's not good for libertarians. This woman doesn't like that. She'd rather see John Bolton and Shell Oil go in there, overthrow their government. Okay. You know what? I'm just guessing. So maybe she doesn't.
Do in the White House, and is it fair to hold 15-year-old sound bites against him, as some of his fans that I've sparred with have claimed? One thing I'll say for RFK Jr. is that, unlike most politicians, he's been extraordinarily consistent in his views. He thinks the world is divided into heroes and villains, and he makes wild, unsupported claims that portray things as simpler than they really are. The difference is that he's no longer a widely ignored crackpot environmental lawyer. He's asking you...
Crackpot. He was a crackpot lawyer. He was a crackpot. And he's no longer a crackpot. I mean, maybe he is. What is he now?
To vote him into widely ignored crackpot environmental lawyer. He's asking you to vote him into the White House.
That the balls of them to use that name is hilarious. Yeah, he is asking you to vote him into the White House. That's not just as crazy as John McCain. Or Mitt Romney or Barack Obama or Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton or Demented Joe. There's somebody that's not crazier than him. There's somebody who's better choice than him. Good luck. Anyway, that's your Reason magazine. And you can go check her out on the Hill. They have her on that Rising show. Yes. Not all the time, but she's on there. Hey, get a load of this. If you were a small business owner and you kept your business open during COVID, you can get money from the government, like $26,000 per employee at covidtaxrelief.org. This is real. Government funds are available to reward companies with 2 or more employees who stayed open during COVID. This is not a loan, and you don't have to pay it back. This program is complicated, but nobody knows more about it than the CPAs and tax experts at covidtaxrelief.org. You pay nothing up front, nothing. They do all the work, and they share a percentage of the cash they get you, just like a lawyer. Businesses of all types, including nonprofits and churches, can qualify, including those who took PPP loans, even if you had increase in sales. Wow. So this is what it says. It says you did the tough thing for your employees during COVID. Let covidtaxrelief.org help you up to $26,000 per employee. They're going to get you up to $26,000 per employee. Visit covidtaxrelief.org. That's covidtaxrelief.org. Covidtaxrelief.org. And when you go there, there's a drop-down menu. Choose Jimmy. Right? That's right. From the drop-down menu, when you register, select Jimmy. Okay? And that will help the show out if you do that. So I appreciate you doing that. Thank you. Hey, come see us on tour. We'll be in Baltimore, San Francisco, Huntington Beach, Rosemont, and Chicago, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, New York City, Pottstown, Pennsylvania, Stamford, Connecticut, and more, and St. Louis. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all our tickets for all our shows.